Well, the thing is, it's like the Matrix. There is no spoon. There is no cycle. It's just people believe there is a cycle. And I think there's a bit of either panic in the market that the cycle is coming, coupled with a little bit of market manipulation, maybe a la Jane Street, that pushed us down. Because it was a very anomalous downtrend, and it was a very aggressive, there's very aggressive sell pressure that was pushing us very, very low. And if you look at the timing, that was around the time of the 10 a.m. slams, which have oddly enough have vanished since then too. So I think it's just a combination of a few things that people were worried about the 4-year cycle. So they're going to sell and try to sell the top and avoid going down with the ship. And there's a bit of manipulation from big players in the market that are pushing the price down for their own ends.
For years, Bitcoin investors were conditioned to expect pain. Every cycle followed the same script: a euphoric breakout followed by a brutal 50%, 60%, sometimes even 80% collapse. It became almost religious doctrine in crypto. Traders waited for the crash as if it were inevitable. But this cycle did something deeply unsettling to that narrative. It refused to break the way everyone expected. That's the signal almost nobody is fully processing. Even with global fear, aggressive interest rates, ETF volatility, and non-stop media skepticism, Bitcoin never truly entered the catastrophic collapse phase that defined previous eras. Instead, something changed beneath the surface. The selling pressure weakened. Institutional capital absorbed shocks. Long-term holders barely moved. And suddenly, the old market cycle theory started looking incomplete. This is what Samson Mow keeps trying to warn people about. Bitcoin may no longer be behaving like a speculative tech trade. It may be evolving into something far more dangerous to ignore: a permanent global monetary asset. Contrarians argue the cycle is dead because Bitcoin has matured. Bears insist the delayed drawdown simply hasn't arrived yet. But the tension between those two views may be exactly what's creating this massive coiled spring in the market right now. Because if Bitcoin truly is becoming an asset that trends upward forever through adoption, scarcity, and global capital migration, then the biggest breakout in its history may happen precisely when most people are still waiting for a crash that never comes. Listen carefully to what Samson Mow says next, because his final Bitcoin prediction could completely change how you see this market forever.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have that just because the market structure of Bitcoin has fundamentally changed, right? Like, you have the ETFs, and the ETFs was the main reason why I said Bitcoin can have this massive run, because there's no more blocker. Every prior cycle bull run has been muted because the exchanges could not onboard people quickly enough, or Coinbase keeps going down. But there's always been some negative catalyst headwind that stopped us from going. But with the ETFs, it's almost like it's like a layer 2, for lack of a better word. There is no bottleneck. Anybody with a Robinhood brokerage can go and buy Bitcoin, right? Or Fidelity investment account, you name it, any number of those, right? And now you have more ETFs. Morgan Stanley has their ETF now, right? So you can see where things are going. And the structure has changed. People are not buying Bitcoin at 70K anymore, or 77 or 8, whatever it is now. It's still massively undervalued. They're buying Bitcoin at $40, $50. They're thinking in terms of IBIT, or $60 for FBTC, or whatever Morgan Stanley's is, right? The unit bias has shifted there. And then you combine that with the treasury companies, and I just don't see us ever having an 80% drawdown in the future, because it's really hard actually to push an asset class down that much, especially when it is finite, and especially when you have these entities that are able to buy at any price. Like, if we went to 60 and Saylor was not able to generate capital to buy, then I would think, that it maybe Maybe we'll go lower, who knows? But the fact that we can defend it so aggressively and with so much demand, it just shows me like it is a different landscape now. It's totally different than anything we've ever seen before. Bitcoin already has everything it needs to succeed in the world. It's just people are willfully misleading the public by saying these types of things. And, maybe people buy these arguments without doing any research of their own. But anyone that's used Aqua, anyone that's used a Lightning wallet can tell you that there is privacy on Bitcoin, right? And if you use the main chain, permissionlessly, let's say you mine some Bitcoin or you bought Bitcoin peer to peer, it is anonymous. The point at which it's not private is when you buy it on an exchange and you withdraw and then the exchange knows this is your address. It's that's not the way Bitcoin was designed to be used. So you buy from exchange. It is money. And Satoshi sent the first coins to Hal Finney. He didn't send it to an exchange and Hal Finney got it from an exchange, right?
Part of Samson Mow's prediction sounds almost unbelievable at first. Elon Musk going significantly deeper into Bitcoin. But the more you think about it, the harder it becomes to dismiss. Because if the richest and arguably most influential entrepreneur on Earth ever decided to aggressively accumulate Bitcoin, the signal sent to the global market would be unprecedented. Elon Musk has never been disconnected from crypto. Tesla already holds Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Musk publicly supported Dogecoin, integrated crypto conversations into mainstream culture, and repeatedly challenged the traditional financial system. Whether critics like it or not, markets react when Elon moves. Attention follows him. Capital follows attention. And this is where Samson Mow's thesis becomes fascinating. He believes Bitcoin is no longer just a speculative asset floating outside the system. It's slowly positioning itself at the center of a new financial order built on scarcity, energy, and digital capital. If that transition accelerates, figures like Elon Musk may not view Bitcoin as optional anymore, but strategic. The contrarian argument is that Musk already missed the opportunity or prefers building companies over holding assets. But bulls see something else entirely. They see Tesla, SpaceX, artificial intelligence, energy infrastructure, and global payments all converging toward a future where Bitcoin becomes collateral, treasury reserve, and monetary power at the same time. And if Samson Mow is right, Elon Musk's next move into Bitcoin may not just impact price, it could permanently alter global perception of the asset itself. Listen carefully to what Samson says next about Tesla, SpaceX, and Bitcoin, because the implications are far bigger than most people realize.
He says he has like a quarter of a Bitcoin personally. Like, he said that publicly. SpaceX has Bitcoin on balance sheet, which means now they've absorbed XAI and X. So that whole SpaceX conglomerate with AI and social media, it has a Bitcoin treasury or Bitcoin reserve. Tesla, I think, still has some. They sold some, but they still have some in their reserves. They're probably like in the top 100. But he has his toes in the Bitcoin pool. And I think he's got to come to the realization that he needs to protect himself, right? Like, he fought hard for Trump to get elected, and he probably angered a lot of people on the other side. Trump's term is ending, and it's unclear what's the procession of power transfer. Is it Democrats in the next term, or is it Republicans or a third party? Who knows? But what we have seen is countries and states are getting more desperate. So the reason why I predicted he would get into Bitcoin in a big way is because of his friends in California, the all-in podcast guys, Chamath, David Sachs, and
Jake Howe.
Yeah. The other guys. They're getting hammered by California, right? California was trying to impose this billionaire wealth tax, and I Chamath posted, like, they have a provision in there that they can just shift it to other people, right? It's being pushed through as a way to tax the billionaires because that is palatable to normal people. But they have a provision to just get, normal people too. So you can see the desperation there, just like you have this desperation in Canada to somehow stimulate economic growth out of nothing, because we don't have much outside of Alberta and natural resources like, forests and whatnot. But, California, what are they doing? They're running a massive deficit. They don't have enough money and they need to get money, right? So what does any government or administration do? They try to tax you, and they tried, and I think they're failing because a lot of people just left. But you can't have this level of this very high profile wealth grab attempt happen to Elon's friends, and Elon not register it in his mind that could be me next, right? Today it's California, and yes, you can move to Florida. Yes, you can move to Texas. But what about later on? Like, where do you flee to? I think there's like a story, Peter Thiel bought a mansion in Argentina, and people are saying, yeah, he's like ahead of the curve and he's going to move to Argentina. But, things change, governments change, and political ruling parties change. And there is only one thing that helps you avoid that. And the answer. It's Bitcoin. But you only have one neutral asset in the world that cannot be seized. And that is the answer. He's got to reach that conclusion soon. We know he knows about Bitcoin. He talks about Bitcoin. We know he likes Dogecoin. But he's a smart guy. He's got to add 2 and 2 and get 4 eventually. So that's my prediction, that he will.
Samson Mow has never really changed his position on Bitcoin. While critics call it extreme, he calls it simple math. His entire thesis rests on one idea most of the world still struggles to fully grasp. Bitcoin is absolutely finite. Only 21 million will ever exist, while governments continue expanding debt, printing currency, and debasing purchasing power across the globe. That's why Mow's conviction hasn't weakened through crashes, fear, or volatility. In his view, Bitcoin isn't competing with stocks or even gold anymore. It's competing against the entire monetary system itself. Contrarians argue adoption could slow, regulation could tighten, or volatility could remain a major obstacle. But bulls point to the accelerating institutional demand, ETF inflows, sovereign interest, and shrinking available supply. To Samson Mow, this is not speculation anymore. It's an inevitable repricing of scarcity. Listen carefully to his thesis next, because the implications could completely change how you see Bitcoin forever.
Well, I was predicting 1 million for a few years, and I think it is time. It is time to increase the number. And 1.33 sounds like a good number, right? 3 is a lucky number in Chinese. 1.88 might be on the high side. Not really. I don't think so, but I have to kind of pick a number that people think might be kind of reasonable. So 1.33. Bitcoin is undervalued. I think at the very bare minimum, we should be 200, 300,000 right now, right? If we had a similar run up to silver, that would be where we're at. So why can we outperform metals? Because metals already ran. Gold almost doubled, and silver, tripled, quadrupled. That's they've done their run. So I think they're going to decline, and Bitcoin will start to capture some of that value, because unlike gold and silver, there is actually a finite amount of Bitcoin, right? And it's quantifiable. And you have buyers of last resort like Saylor and soon BSTR and others that are just going to buy Metaplanet, right? Yeah, Tether as well. The rate of accumulation. But speaking of Tether, Paulo is overdue for a buy. You have to tell him, like, smash buy. But the rate of accumulation is just incredible at this kind of bear market territory, right? In the 60s and 70s now, it's still like they're raising capital like crazy to buy. Saylor's buying billions every week. And I don't think people understand that is not sustainable. The saying, the greatest trick the devil ever played on the world was convincing the world that he didn't exist. The greatest trick, the Bitcoin markets has played is they're convincing people that there's unlimited Bitcoin and paper Bitcoin can suppress price indefinitely. But I don't think that's true. You're going to see a suddenly movement, and everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, Bitcoin is scarce. And yes, there's a lot of demand for Bitcoin, and there's still a lot of demand for Bitcoin, right? This is why I don't think cycles matter. If you look at the landscape now, like, when have we ever had a buyer that is completely insensitive to price? That has never happened before Strategy and other treasury companies emerged, right?